Talk Radio Europe.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Allan Tee on TRE.
And a very good afternoon and welcome to the programme. Yes, Allan Tee here, sitting in for Hannah Murray all this week, and I hope you're going to enjoy the programme. I'm looking forward to talking with music journalist Mark Savage. We'll be talking actually about the unheard of Abbey Road. It's just being released. It's a remastered Unheard Abbey Road. And then in the second hour, I'll be talking with Steve Giles, who was the founder and creator of a band called Dark back in the 70s. And we produced an album, and I actually engineered it back in 1971-72 at my studios in Northampton, England, SIS Recording Studios. And it took on a life of its own in the early 90s. We'll tell you more about that later. But they've just remastered the 5 tracks on the album called Dark Around the Edges, and it's about to be released. So we're talking with Steve about that in the second hour of the programme.
Allan Tee on TRE.
And welcome back, and welcome indeed if you've just joined us. Where have you been? This is the second hour of this Tuesday edition of the Hannah Murray Show. The Afternoon with Hannah Murray is now Afternoon with Allan Tee. So it's Tea with Allan. Oh my goodness, stop it, Allan, stop it. Coming up in this hour, I will be talking with Steve Giles, who is the founder and founder member, and is still the lead of a band called Dark, which have been around since the early 70s. And we'll be talking about the album called Dark Around the Edges, which I was privileged, I suppose you can say now, to have been the engineer on the sessions in a very basic studios back in 1971, and the album kind of got rediscovered around 1991, and anybody who had original pressings of that album in vinyl from 1971, they've been going for money like you wouldn't believe. I think there's a one copy went for about £20,000 a few months ago, and they say that any remaining copies of the original one with all the colourful, mastered and beautiful presented sleeves will be worth about £40,000. My God. I don't know what happened to mine. So there you go. Well, I'm having a little bit of trouble here. I'm going to try out another little trick here, but we're going to play a bit of music from Sheena Easton. Hopefully we'll get a Morning Train, 9 to 5. Well, the interesting thing talking about champions is that my colleagues here have been tremendous in the last few minutes. Unfortunately, I was unable to log into the Zoom as, I've been away for quite a long time, so I don't know how everything works, although I should do. So, where we go. I've actually got on the line now Steve Giles. Now, Steve Giles...
Allan! Oh, that's not Allan. Steve, that. Steve!
Is the founder and, the creator, I suppose, of the band The Dark. And, the album Dark Around the Edges came out, and it was actually a private production in 1971, 1972, recorded in Northampton at a very, very basic studio. But recently, or say in the beginning of the 90s, there was a big resurgence in the interest in the album and in the band themselves. And in fact, they reformed to do live gigs. And I tell you, the most amazing thing has happened. An entrepreneur has come along and has financed the production and also the release of the album 50 years on vinyl, and the whole thing has been remastered at Abbey Road. And here is a sample. The first track on the album, Dark Side of the Moon, that is called Dark Side. And joining me now is the vocalist you just heard there, and also the founder of Dark. It's Steve Giles. Good afternoon to you, Steve.
Hello, Allan. Just pick you up on that. It was Pink Floyd that did Dark Side of the Moon, the album that we did.
Yeah, I know. I've had a rather confusing last 25 minutes, and I suddenly realised my mistake.
I don't mind being put in the same basket as Pink Floyd.
Why not? Why not, indeed? In fact, the Dark Side, it get very confusing, doesn't it, with the track with the Dark Side. I'm just trying to get myself together here because we had a slight problem with getting in touch with you, but we're here now. Now, Steve, okay, give us the history, because I was just about to say that after 50 years, it's getting a new lease of life. In fact, it hasn't stopped really since it was rediscovered, shall we say, in the early 90s.
Well, I think that people started finding it in the 80s, but they didn't actually contact us until 1990, the first time we had contact with anybody. And as you say, it's been going on and on and on since then. Lots of different labels have contacted us asking if they can license the rights to re-release the album, which they've done. And that's gone on, and it's gradually increased in popularity literally around the world, and up until the latest times when a label is now putting out not only dark round the edges, but literally anything else I could find that I ever recorded right back to 1969 up until 1996, and they're putting out a whole series of LPs, 14 in all. And that's coming out. It was hoped to be out this year in the 50th anniversary. Unfortunately, delay after delay has caused it. It's now going to be early next year before it's actually available. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind.
Well, of course, the impact of dark around the edges. I get it right this time. What was the recording that I was particularly involved in, and but as you say, you did an awful lot of other recordings around it. But that was the moment, or that was the album that existed on vinyl from 1971, which you put all the sleeve work together as well. Yep. Some of it really, really impressive. I think you did about 18 color versions, didn't you? And we did about 60 pressings, was it, of the album?
64 together.
64, yeah.
It was actually 72 that was done.
Yeah, 72,
in your studio before in 71 and in
That's
70.
Right.
That actual album was done in 72. I did it all myself. I couldn't afford to do them all colour. I printed the photos myself. The sleeve wasn't a printed sleeve. It was just a plain white sleeve with photographs actually glued onto the front and back.
Yeah.
And the most valuable one, the most sought after one, is the colour gatefold that I produced. So it's got colour photos on front and back, and inside it's got black and white photos. I did that. That was one version, and there was another version the same as that, except they were all black and white photos, and then the rest single black and white sleeve. So there's 3 different variants of the sleeve, but the album inside was the same. Yeah.
And of course the rarity of that is actually one of the rarest albums. And if anybody's got a copy of one of those original colour versions, you're looking at a pretty decent pension fund.
It started selling many years ago now. It's gradually increased in value from the hundreds to the thousands. And then I think it was 2017, the first one broke the £20,000 barrier. Actually went for 25,000.
Incredible.
And one a year or so later went for 31,000.
Gracious.
And now people are talking, if they find a colour gatefold original, they'd be prepared to pay £40,000 for it.
My goodness.
These collectors. Yeah.
That's incredible. And to think that I had a copy that I lost.
You told me about that.
Yeah.
It went missing. You're not managed to track it down, have you?
Well, somebody might find those albums somewhere and think, oh, what's this? And go on to Discog and fall over backwards. You never know. Now, the thing is that also, of course, you said about you doing all the work on the covers. Your sort of your daytime job with your family was as a photographer. So, of course, it fitted well that you were able to do this work on the cover as well.
Well, yeah, it saved a bit of money at the same time as well. But I enjoyed doing it. It was my baby, if you like, and I just wanted to put everything in myself so I got it exactly as I wanted it to be. I mean, I was only doing it for myself.
Of course, yeah.
I mean,
I know.
This was going to happen. It was just I got the band. We'd been through several lineups since 1968 when I first formed it in school. And we got to what I felt was probably the pinnacle at that time. And I could see we were going to split up. We weren't really getting the recognition we wanted. And so, it's been 4 years of work I put into this. I can't just stop and everything disappear. So before that happens, I want to get into the studio. I've been into your studio a couple of times. So let's go back, see Allan, do another album. Then I've got a thing I can keep. And that's the only reason I made the album. It wasn't to hawk about, to try and get a deal, although we did try that.
Have a memory, have a record of what your musicianship was, of all the guys, was fantastic.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Oh, very much
we
so.
were happy how it progressed, yeah.
I mean, listening to that, I mean, your musicianship was and is extremely professional. I was amazed, actually, when I first heard you play your guitar. I thought, wow, this guy's good.
Thank you.
Well, it did hit me, you know.
It told me that at the time, mind you.
Well, I didn't, did I? I was just thinking it, but I mean, didn't want to make your head too big. I want to make you get in and out the door.
No.
Now, how has this reissue come about and getting the whole album remastered at Abbey Road? Tell us more.
Yeah, well, I've got to the stage where, you know, we're all getting on a bit, and I was getting so many requests from various labels to, can we put the album out again? We want to do this, we want to do that. I was getting to the point where I can't cope with this anymore. I'm getting too old, you know. So I'd been in contact with this label for on and off for quite some time. So I approached them and told them the story, and they said, well, you know, we're happy to take over the publishing rights for you and handle all that sort of thing. So I said, yeah, go on then, let's do that. And then I said, you know, of course, 22 is going to be the 50th anniversary of Dark Around the Edges. So they said, oh, yeah, great. Well, we'll sign you up. We'll do something really special for that year. And the plans progressed, and we came up with different ideas. And then at one point they said, well, why don't we get you into Abbey Road? You know, get the tapes down to Abbey Road and get an Abbey Road remaster of the original master tapes. So that's where that came about. And that was all part and parcel of what was going to be the 50th anniversary edition. And then they said, well, what else have you got? So I went through all my tapes and stuff right back to 1969. And then up to 1996, when we actually made another album, which we'd financed from all the deals we'd done to license the rights to Dark Around the Edges. So we'd put that money in a pot. We went into a studio and recorded another album called Anonymous Days. And so the series of these LPs goes from 1969, the very earliest recording I could find, which is actually live. The quality is not good, I must be honest there. Right up until 1996 to the Anonymous Days album, which I actually had the multi-track analog tapes transferred to digital so that I could actually do a remix myself and a remaster for this, specifically for this series of LPs in the 50th anniversary year.
Looking forward to it. It sounds fantastic, Steve. And of course, the being able to actually find a production company, an entrepreneur who is prepared to, you know, to put money into this project has been a godsend for you, hasn't it?
You wouldn't believe how much money they're putting into this. It's absolutely out of the world.
I can imagine. Because, I mean, just sort of, I would imagine that just booking Abbey Road Studios to remaster means my masters must have been rubbish if they had to remaster it at Abbey Road. I mean,
well, I'll give you Joe Allen, the remastering engineer, who actually, he told me he's remastered virtually all of the Beatles stuff to the point where he cannot now listen to a Beatles track for pleasure.
Really?
He's heard them so many times, he's fed up with them. Yeah, so he actually said, that's really good. I enjoyed that.
Oh.
And that's listening to your master tape.
Well, that's also listening to your musicianship as well, I have to say here, Stephen.
Well, yeah, okay, but it's all part and parcel.
So just mention the name. Yeah, well, I suppose that's true. Just mention the other guys in the band, so we got all their names here. Well, the band that recorded that album was myself, obviously, Clive Thornycroft on drums, Ron Johnson on bass guitar, and Martin Weaver. I only joined us a month or so before we recorded the album. Martin Weaver is on the second guitar. Well, I'm going to start playing "Live for Today," which is obviously I think it's the fourth track on the album. There's 5 tracks in all, as far as I remember. And I think
6 tracks.
6 tracks. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I said 5. My head's all over the place at the moment. And this was one of my favourites because I just loved the way the intro came in and that thumping bass behind it. But don't go away because I'm going to sort of play a bit of it and then we're going to have a little bit more chat. Okay?
Okay.
Live for Today, as we continue playing it with Steve talking to me about the album, and also when it came out as a CD, that sort of had some interesting developments. Gosh, I heard it played on Radio 1 in an evening program.
Right. Yeah. That Mark Radcliffe played The Cat, I believe it was, which is second track on side 2. And I remember you telling me you were
Joe Wiley played RC8.
Jo Whiley played RCA?
Yeah, it was when she just basically started on Radio 1, and she was doing the nighttime program or the evening shows. I think the one from 9 o'clock or something. And I was just about to drive out of my house, and I suddenly thought, what? I was listening to the program, and all of a sudden you came on. And I thought, wow, you know. Yeah,
I never heard those live, but I've heard about them. I think Mark Radcliffe played the cat and Jo Whiley
played the cat. Yeah. Well, anyway, Live for Today, as I say, I always love that intro. But of course, a lot of multi-tracking we did on that. I mean, we had very basic equipment. Let's tell our listeners, it was nothing really sophisticated, was it?
Yeah, well, you actually overdubbed, didn't you? We had the backing track, which we'd laid down on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And then on the subsequent 3 evenings, I actually came into overdub vocals and guitar. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a horrible tickly cough.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, take it easy. I know you've had a lot of snow there as well in the last few days, and it's really cold.
We missed most of it where I am, but it's been a lot.
Well, look, I'm going to sort of play a little bit more of Live for Today. Steve, I wish you much success. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you about the album, and you can give them a WhatsApp or a website that we can contact you.
Yeah, the best thing to do is probably look up the website. That's www.darkedges, all one word, .net. www.darkedges.net. And I'm contactable through that website.
Excellent. Been talking with Steve Giles. Steve, thank you very much indeed for coming on the day. As I said, we've known each other for, well, we have, haven't we, over 50 years.
A long time. Yeah, long time.
And it's been a real pleasure to get in touch with you and have a talk about this as I'm sitting in for Hannah this week. And I do apologise to our listeners for a few problems to get it going, but here we are now. So we're going to play out with Live for Today from the album Dark Round the Edges. Alan, get it right. I should know that. And Steve, talk to you soon. Hope you feel better from your cold, and hope keep yourself warm, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Look after yourself. Ta-da.
Cheers. Bye. Thanks so much to Steve Giles talking about the reissue of Dark Round the Edges from 50 years ago, and that is the track Live for Today. You also heard before that Dark Side. And if you want to know more details about the album and about the boys themselves, you can contact them on their website address, which is darkedges.net. That's darkedges.net. This is TRE, Talk Radio. We're going to have a look at some financial news and some exchange rates for in just a few moments.
Talk Radio Europe. TRE.